Hey y'all, it's Livia, aka florwalsims. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I thought it would be fun to make a mini series on how you can add some realism to your builds without using any CC. So today we're going to be focusing on details you can add to the exteriors of your lots as well as how to make garages and driveways. So we're going to be doing that as well as basic landscaping. I want to keep this very beginner friendly. So we're not going to be doing anything too intricate, just little objects you can add to your builds to make them look a lot better and a lot more realistic. So we're not going to be using any custom content objects, we're only going to be using objects that are already in the game, but I will be using two mods by Twisted Mexi, Tool Mod, and Better Build By. There's already so many overviews on these mods that I'm not going to do one, but with Better Build By, it just basically helps you find objects that are in the debug category way easier. Because I know there's that one cheat, but it's so hard to find objects. So this just organizes them. For example, this is the transportation tab. There's all these cars in it, but originally without the mod, it just shows you bikes and boat things as well as skiing things. So if you check debug live edit, it shows you all the cars that are in the game. So we'll be putting that here. I guess we'll start off with adding details to your roof. So, I mean, this doesn't look too bad, but it could have a lot more details. So what I like to do sometimes is take this, pinch the corners, copy the roof and the siding, and add a little window. So that just adds detail to the roof, and we're going to be adding more. So most houses have chimneys, though we're just going to use this one, I guess. I like that swatch. You can add a satellite dish that comes with the Strangerville pack. I like to use this roof vent. So you can place it there and leave it at that, but I do not like the way that it pokes out right here. So I'm going to be using the tool mod to lower it. So I usually just start at 0.050. Select the object, and then now it's lowered and it looks a lot better. I also will take these roof vents. Personally, I think they are way too big, so I like to size them down using the bracket key. So now you have a detailed roof. Now we're gonna work on building a garage. Also, if you don't know what to do with space in the yard, you can just build a garage. So we're going to be making one of those. Kind of play around with the size. We want to make sure that our Sims can access the backyard, and this is a very tiny lot. So the car fits there. We're going to add a roof to it. Your garage doesn't have to match the house, but I like mine too, so we're just going to copy the roof color as well as the siding. So there are two ways that you can make a garage door. I mean, there's more, but these are the two ways that I use the most. You can use different sidings. This one, the horizontal clapboard that comes from Outdoor Retreat, I like to use this one, and it just makes it look like a garage. So you can add windows, and there's an object that comes with the Desert Lux kit, and I never remember the name of it. Right, it's called Decidedly Neutral Curtain Mount. Also like to bring this and put it on the interior of the garage as well, so that it looks like a real garage door. So line those up. So this option doesn't always look the best. It looks kind of wonky on this garage just because it's not that big. But this is definitely how I used to make garages starting out. And that looks alright. But for this one, we're going to be doing something different. So if you just type garage, there are these that come with city living. The roof's not high enough, so we're not going to use this one. We're going to be using this one. It's called DIY Garage Mural. Your sim can come spray paint on it basically. So add the one to the front and then also put it on the inside so that it looks like a real garage door. Let's add a light. Usually for my garages, I like to use one that comes from Get to Work called the Beamer, but it really doesn't matter, honestly. So now that you have your garage built, we need to add an entrance to it because your Sims can't go through that door. So we're gonna just copy this back door, add a few windows, and add some wallpaper. I usually just leave the flooring the way that it is because a lot of garages just have concrete floors. There's also this one that came with Desert Lux called compressed earth flooring. You can do that. I use this one from Jungle Adventure a lot, but I think we're just going to use the Desert Lux one. Another important thing is lighting, so we're going to be adding some lights. I usually size this down, and then let's add one to this back door and copy it and move it to the front door. So we can adjust that later. Now that you have your actual garage built, let's add some detail to it. I always use 2 objects in most of mine. So there's one that I can never remember the name of that comes with Strangerville. Right, it's called Heavy Metal Heavy Duty Shelf. It just looks like something you would find in a real garage. It's a little doomsday preppy, but we're working with what we got. There's also this one that comes with Dino. It's called the Industrial Pantry Rack. Sometimes I'll just put them side by side, but this garage isn't that big, so we're gonna size it down. And now it looks like you have a garage with storage. You can add a woodworking bench. You can also remove the car completely and make it a little activity space. We're just going to be leaving the car in this one. Actually, let's add a light here too. So we have our garage. Now we're going to be working on the driveway. So there's multiple ways you can do this. You can just take flooring, put it to the end of the lot, leave it at that. You can try out different floorings. That looks good, but I think I want to use terrain paint today. So what I do is I lower it to the ground level, I press G to turn the grid back on, and I use this terrain paint that comes with Eco Lifestyle. So I turned the grid on so that we can follow the lines. We're gonna clean up the edges. So if you want to, you can leave it at that, but I like to take another terrain paint, usually the gravel and grit one, change the opacity or the softness a little bit, and just kind of, that's a little bit too, right, so just kind of blend that in. I also like to go along and outline it with dirt a little bit. So this is optional, but it just makes it more detailed. Just add some dirt. We're not going to be doing it perfect today because I'm trying to get everything done quickly. So now that you have that, I also like to just go with a bigger one and kind of take the dirt, click through it. You can get messy with it, it doesn't really matter. And another thing I like to do is make it the smallest thing you can do, and then I like to look at the car and then make lines where the wheels are so it looks like our car was really driving through the driveway. So now you have a messy, detailed driveway. I think I'm also going to be using this to make a walkway. Right, so now we have a driveway and a path to the front of the house. The front of the house I feel like could use some work, so we're gonna go to the build tab, go to wall sculptures, and find some awning. I think I'm going to be using this one from Seasons. Make it match the house more. See, it's little details that make things look a lot better. So now that we have a cover for our porch, I like to go to the gallery. Every single one of my builds has these except for the starter houses because they're a little bit expensive, but if you go to the rooms category, I type in house numbers and there's a few to choose from. I always pick this one. It's by Jules64. So these are kind of big, so what I do is I take it, size it down as far as it can go, and then I just align it to where I think it would look good. So you can do it like this, but I don't think that looks as good. I like to drag it all the way until the number beside it is almost covered, and then it kind of snaps into place and looks seamless. So now you have realistic house numbers. You could also put a mailbox right here, switch it around, but I think I like this one. So move that around. Alright, so another thing I like to do is add trash cans. So there's this wheeled trash bin that comes with the base game. Most of the time people just use this, but there's actually a debug item that is also base game. There's different swatches that look like recycling bins, so we're going to be using the blue one today. I just like to take these and make them kind of like all over the place. I also like to take trash from Eco Lifestyle. There's also some that comes with werewolves, I think. And I just like to add trash beside the trash cans. So you can do more than that. I'm just gonna leave it at that though. Another thing I like to do with terrain paints is, now this is extra, but I always have to do it. So I go to the smallest brush size and the softest adjustment I can go to, and I just kind of draw a line against the actual house. You don't have to do this. I mean, it can kind of get time consuming depending on how big the house is. Another thing I like to add is drain pipes. I think I already did some. Yeah, I did some right here already. Y'all, I sound so unenthusiastic, but I promise, like, I'm literally just like monotone in general. Even if I'm like having a blast, I am happy to make this video. That's my voice. Also, I'm like super tired because it's the middle of the night because that's the only time I can record. So sorry if I literally sound like I'm not having a good time, but I promise I am. Alright, so I think this house needs some landscaping. We're not going to be doing anything too complicated. I like to see what landscaping objects are already around the world. So there's so many trees right now. I'm going to be using the hawthorn tree. I think this is like my favorite tree in the game. So we're gonna be using that. Just put it around here, doesn't have to be perfect. I don't like when it clips. So I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. When it comes to scaling objects, it always starts at 1. So 1 is the default size of the object. And then if you type 0.9, it just takes 1 point, makes it smaller. I'm gonna do 1.2. See how I feel about that. Yeah, I definitely like that better. It's not clipping into the fence. Let's add some things to the front. So with this, I used a bunch of high school years things, so we're just gonna do that with this one too. We can use a little bush. I mean, usually I would do this a lot neater, but I just want to get it done as quick as I can. This, the ground cover, I think this looks good. It's a little messy. So we can size this down, just kind of place it. Different sections of the yard. Thank you, Phoenix. I also really like these. I think there's like some that come with base game too, but I'm just going to use it from the high school years. So I will size these down and alternate between sizes. This is just like a really easy way to do it. So if you don't really know how to landscape that well, you can just kind of stack stuff like that against each other and it always looks good. Another thing I like to add, I'm not going to be adding it on this one because I feel like that would be too much, but this grass that comes with cottage living, sometimes I'll like size these down and just place them randomly so it just looks like there's grass growing because not everybody has perfectly manicured lawns. Sometimes I will take this deco grass, this one, and you can leave it at this. It doesn't look terrible, but I like to make it really tiny. I will just copy. You can place them anywhere. This is looking very messy. Usually if I was actually gonna upload this, it would look a lot neater. So that's how to do really easy landscaping if you don't want to do perfect landscaping. Another thing you can do is add lighting, so if you don't want your Sims to be walking outside in the dark, I'll just take like one of these, size it down one time, stick it in random spots. So now the backyard is decently lit. Some other objects I like to add to backyards is a hose. So I just typed in hose into the search bar, different swatches. The thing I like to do is take this HVAC system from the roof sculptures and I will usually size it down 1 and I stick it. So if your house is like on a high foundation, it's going to do this. This is where tool mod comes in. So mine's high enough to where once I lower it, it's not gonna do this, but sometimes it will. So if you want, you can just like do that, cut the room off. And now you have a little HVAC unit and add a little panel. So you can do that. Also like to type in vent. And there's a few to choose from. You can use this one, these, size them down, but I'm just gonna go with the standard base game wall vent and just put it on these. You can add a little grilling area. Usually I'll take a grill and like placed against the fence. And then you can add little details, so there's like a lighter. I like to take this from Perfect Patio. I size it down because Sims 4 loves to make objects too big when they don't need to, and I'll just put it there so you have little grilling tools. I mean, you can put sauces if you want. Not placing everything perfectly, don't come for me. So yeah, now you have a detailed yard, you have a garage, driveway, roof decorations. You can always experiment with different things. These are just like basic items I really like to use to add detail. I don't know what I'll be working on next episode, but I'll probably be making it soon, so look out for that. If you want to download this house, it's already on the gallery. It's not going to be this exact one that we did today, but it's up there, so check that out, Floral Sims. Thank you for watching, y'all. Goodbye. Mwah.